and we'll say our pledge.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all our many blessings, Lord, and we thank you for loving us. We thank you for the opportunity we have to gather here tonight to make decisions regarding our students, Lord, and for what's best for our system. We ask you to bless our discussion, bless each one of us as we make decisions that we won't know the true meaning of until later on, Lord. We just thank you for the wisdom for that, and we ask you to be with all our students. We ask you to be with all our staff, Lord. We ask you to bless them. We ask you to bless the people that are on tonight's tenures, but also our 4 new scope members, and Lord, for Kendall tonight, we just ask you to bless them. Dear Lord, bless our discussions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the Ridgeview students are not here today, so we're just going to go into the introduction of our new scope students for next year, which is our student board members.
Yeah, they will, as you know, they will roll into be, as juniors this year, seniors next year, the student board members on this board. I'll just call each the name, but you know, SCOPE is Student Congress on Policy and Education. These young people will meet up with their cohorts across the state, and they'll have a chance to debate education policy, and eventually I think be involved in the process of voting on policy and approving or not approving policy on the topics that they discuss. So it's at Belmont University next week, and so they'll be traveling down and representing Washington County. We have 2 representatives from each of our high schools, Daniel Boone High School, and just it's not a big group. You can just wave your hand. If you want to stand and come up and give a speech, you certainly can. Yeah. But when I call your name, just let us know who you know, other people in the room, let them know who you are. Lily Fleener and Joe Robinson. And at David Crockett High School, we have Hannah Campbell and Tyler Ball. You guys want to say anything? We will ask you when you, after your experience at a future board meeting, to come back and just give us an update on what your experience was, I guess, at the April board meeting, so you can kind of take notes and be prepared for that, and hopefully mark your calendar so you can be here. Any questions, comments? Words of wisdom for us?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations. Glad to have you.
I think you'll enjoy the experience. It's a neat opportunity.
Do I have a recommendation for the meeting agenda?
Make a motion we approve the consideration of meeting agenda as presented.
Second.
I would like to amend the motion to pull for the tenure vote, I would just like to pull the Lamar School out to be voted on its own. I'd like to make the motion for that. Okay, so
Second.
Jennifer, any discussion? Jennifer, can we?
For
Please.
the amendment.
Thank you.
Voting's open. Passes.
So we vote on the amendment or the motion as amended.
It's open. Motion carries, all approved.
Thank you. So,
No one signed up for public
no,
comment?
no.
Okay.
There's no public comment. Is there a recommendation for the approval of the meeting minutes?
Motion we approve the meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we vote, please?
Voting's open.
Yours working this time, Keith?
Yeah. Yeah.
It carries.
Announcements.
They're listed there, you know, just as a reminder, the National Conference on Education, the National Superintendent Association Conference is this week in New Orleans. I fly out in the morning and fly home Saturday. Rest this week on the 6th, on Thursday, is a HUE meeting. You know, as I've shared, we have one item on there. It is concerning an item that's later on the agenda around bidding out the Danny Boone High School boiler and chiller upgrades. And I've already talked with Mr. Hale and Dr. Adams about the strategy going into that, knowing I won't be there. I have 100% confidence in how they can lead that discussion with the HUE committee. As we already mentioned, next week, March 11th, is the Tennessee Scope Conference at Belmont University, where our 4 representatives will be headed down to Nashville on the campus of Belmont. The workshop is a little earlier because of spring break. It's on Tuesday, March 18th. As you know, the County Commission is that next Monday, that last Monday of the month. We have, just for your awareness, the Special Olympic Track and Field event is in the Mini Dome in ETSU March 31st, all day, 9 a.m. to 2. And then our next board meeting, regular board meeting, is Thursday, the 3rd of April.
If you've never been to the Special Olympic, that's something I would encourage you to drop by and visit. You don't have to stay all day, but it's super encouraging.
Yep.
All right, so let's move into the superintendent's report.
Sure. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Hodge, as a representative from David Crockett. Let her have the floor.
Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about Westfield Middle School. So I actually got the opportunity to go to school during a school day a couple weeks ago, and I got to walk around and just see all the classes, all the stuff they have in the hallways, and just talk to some of the teachers. So this is just their mission statement and their vision statement. Really, they just strive for academics. They really want their students to succeed academically, and that they're able to work well together and just as a unit with parents. So Westview is actually recognized as a reward school for the 3rd year in a row this year. They work really hard and it really shows off. Westview is a very STEM-centered school. They have a lot of STEM projects all around the school in the hallways. So actually when you first walk in, there's 2 tables right to your right where you can see a lot of the students' projects and just a lot of the things going on. They were actually recently announced the STEM school designation for 2024 to 2028. They actually have a pep rally. I think it's the first Friday of every month where they announce these winners to the whole school, and it just gives the kids some sort of motivation and just a good way to start their month. Here's some more of the projects. They have a lot of projects all around. It's really fun to look at. For the 2022 to 2023 school year, they earned the Tennessee Excellence in Civics Education School Designation and the Governor's Civic Seal. So this talks about their, they prioritize teaching our nation's history and civic values. I think this is really cool considering that they also were a very STEM-centered school, so they're not just focused on one thing. They are very open to learning a bunch of things. So they have something really interesting. It's called the Ball Mall. It teaches financial responsibility while rewarding good behavior. If a student does something good, they will receive a ball ticket, and then they can use it, or they can save it up, and they can go buy something in the Ball Mall. There's things like stickers, coloring books, things that just any kid would like to have, and they can either save up for bigger items or just get something small. At the time, This is, they can only go every once in a while, so it doesn't really take away from instructional time. The art class is designing new t-shirts. So what I think was really cool about this is while they're designing the t-shirts on paper right now, in a few weeks they are going to switch over and start designing them on a computer as well. So while they're getting to see the structure of art on paper, they're also getting to see the other side of it on a computer as well. So they're getting to learn both aspects of the art class. Kindergarten registration is coming up for Westview, and Westview theme is Launch into Learning. They are going to have a couple different space aspects to registration. I know one of the teachers that was showing me around, he's building kind of like a big rocket ship out of cardboard to have shown, and each new register will get a mini 3D printed rocket ship to take with them. I just think this is a really cool way to get the kindergartners excited into going into Westview. They had their 100th day of school, and they all dressed up as if they were 100 years old. And then the picture on the right, they all got out on their track and they got into the 100, and they had a drone that went up and took the picture of all of them. So that's actually all of the Westview students in that 100 sign right there. I thought that was really cool. They are having a family math night soon, and so I thought this was really interesting because whenever I was in school, I didn't really have anything like this. I think it's really cool that they're finding a way to make academics fun for all of the younger students and a way to include the families in that as well as something outside of school. Westview works really hard, and they have a lot of goals, which I think is really good for a kid to have, so they know what they're striving and reaching for. They have all of these 3 boards hung up in the hallways for you to display, so you see them right as you walk by, so the kids know exactly what they're working towards. It's goals such as just learning goals for each subject, as ELA, math, science, and social studies. And they have monthly challenges and things like that, and it just gives a very distinct goal of what the kids are trying to work towards. One really cool thing that they have coming up is their new esports program. The teacher talked a lot about this. They're really excited. So right now it's a computer science class, and they're getting taught that through Super Mario Maker 2. Students are learning about algorithmic thinking, pattern recognition, abstraction, decomposition, and debugging codes. So they're teaming up with their students, and they're learning all of these things, and they're getting feedback to other groups, and they're getting feedback from people, and it's teaching good student cooperation, and while they're getting to do something fun, people are also learning. This is actually a class, and soon they are going to be able to do career exploration through it as well. So the guidance counselor was telling me all about all the donations they received recently. All of this picture is all of the food donations they received for their food pantry, and they also got a ton of clothes donated as well for their clothes locker. Westview's book fair is now open. I thought this was really cool. Whenever I was in school, I loved the book fair. I thought it was so exciting, and I think it's a really cool way to get kids excited about reading. They have something really exciting called the interactive floor. I tried to get a video, but I could not figure out how to get it on the PowerPoint, so I'll just have to tell you about it. So they can do things that incorporates math or just fun games as well. Anytime you step on the floor, you can see it through the game, and it tracks your foot movements. And so like there was a math game where it had like a tree with all the different math things, and when you knew the answer, you stepped on that limb. And if you got it wrong, like it fell off, and you got it right. I think like an apple sprouted or something like that. But it was really cool and really interesting. And I think it's a good way for the kids to learn while getting their blood pumping and doing something they're really interested in. While I was going around the school, I got to talk to a couple of the teachers and a couple of parents and faculty as well. And this is just a lot of the quotes that I heard. One of the main things about Westview that I heard is that they really just loved how small it is and how much it's like a family. They said it's really a good morning school, and I really noticed that. As I walked through the halls, a lot of people stopped to talk to me just to say, hi, how are you, what are you doing, like, are you having a good time, and stopped to tell me all the things they loved about Westview. I just thought this was really interesting. They also said that they had really good students there as well. That a lot of the teachers, they just couldn't stop bragging on their students and how well behaved and how motivated and goal oriented they are. I just thought that was really interesting as well. Any questions?
Good job.
Great job.
Great.
Thank you. I'd just like to say thank you, Kendall. Great report, and a lot of great things going on at Westview School.
Was that your kid at each school?
I went to Jonesboro, but my mom works at Westview.
Is she taking videos behind you?
Oh.
Do it all over.
You gotta
Kendall.
do it again, Kendall.
We got time.
Well, it is live
You know, we
cast
are
and it'll be
Yes.
archived, so
Yes.
you can pull it off of YouTube.
Right.
She does look like a proud mom back there, so
We figured that.
thank you, Kendall.
Big
Thank
resemblance.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
job. The next items are just monthly reports, as you can see, just for board full awareness and public record. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to address anything in any of those reports.
You didn't have nothing on personnel. I guess we didn't have none leave or come in new this month.
There was some
No,
movement.
we got it.
Yeah, there's movement
It's
there.
there.
Oh, I didn't see it.
I didn't get it either.
Never mind, it's right there.
Number 8G.
I must have just missed it.
No, but there's nothing under it. Like, when I type it, there's nothing under it.
Okay.
But
Hit it again.
I don't know. Yeah. But I will say, I was locked out of here today and it's been kind of wonky.
Okay, okay.
Like, mine has been very wonky
Yeah,
today.
it's a PDF with the standard format,
I just missed it before. Thank you.
2 pages.
Yeah, mine, there's nothing. We're good.
Nothing under other for this meeting.
So is there a recommendation for the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we vote, Jennifer, please?
Voting's open. All approved.
All right, discussions and presentations. I do believe that's Ginger, correct?
Ginger's here with us tonight from Lewis Group.
Okay, so I have a couple of updates on 2 separate projects. I know Paul was here not long ago, but on the security upgrades, there have been a lot of issues with the steel fabrication on both schools. So that has created some delays, and Merit has sent us a final completion date. We're very aware that August 5th is the first day of school, and they know that it needs to be done before then. So the completion date that they have given us would be July the 17th. And in order to meet this, what they're doing is that they have 2 superintendents right now working at Crockett that you can see on that picture. They're already forming masonry. Jeff Estra with Meredith actually wanted to be here, but he couldn't make it because the masonry people were staying late. And then they're working on the interior right now. And then what's going to happen is that you'll see the pictures, but they're working on the interior spaces right now and basically framing the offices in the admin area. So they can get as much work done right now before they get the metal fabrication. And then that is gonna get delivered. They're expecting it next week. So what's gonna happen is that they're gonna have, initially the plan was to work in one school and then work on the other one. Now they're gonna have 2 separate teams. They're gonna work on both schools in tandem. So they seem to be doing a lot of progress, and they have a lot of people there. So I think they're working hard to meet that deadline. So, and I wanted to show you some pictures of.
And
what they have
just
going on.
to say it out loud, clarification, that date that they provided, that is absolute completion date.
Yes, and there's no wiggle room in there, but they are, I think they're gonna, I mean, if they finish earlier, that's great. And I think they're trying hard to,
That's the
they're
goal.
aware that, even on July 17th, you guys have to move in, you have to, set up things. So there's a bit of work to be done. So they're very aware. So we're gonna work to make sure that that happens. So that is on the security. You can see there, that's where the admin area, David Crockett, where the offices are gonna go. So there's frame up already. There's gonna be some work going on over there pretty quick. So I think they'll be ready to go on the steel fabrication by next week. And now, I know that, again, since Paul was here, you guys had a discussion about the new boiler building. And he sent out a scope of work, but I went ahead and reprinted some things for you on the scope. You can take one and pass it around. We had discussed internally at LGA, and we had a thought that maybe it would help you make a decision if we, on the workshop, what we would propose is that on the 18th, we have our mechanical engineer maybe Zoom, and you guys can have a discussion with him and have any questions that you may have answered by him. If that would be helpful, I think we can set that up. Perfect.
Is that the day of our workshop?
Yes, at 18. This month is the 18th. So I figured that would be better, and that way you won't take time from your board meeting also. But I'll go ahead and set that up. That's all I have.
What is the actual holdup on the security? Is it just the steel?
The steel went through a lot of modifications. The design went through a lot of modifications. So there were, we did drawings that were built on as-built drawings. And then they got there, and through demolition, there was discovery of what wasn't there. There was a lot of structure that we thought was there, and it wasn't. So we had to do a lot of redesign on it, what we were attaching to, basically. And there was a lot of back and forth between, we talked to Merit, and then we talked to our structural, and then we talked back to Merit. So there's a lot of that. But we got the design set, and then steel fabricators will be delivering the materials next week.
Oh, so the steel be here next week?
Yes. So we have worked through that, but he did put a damper on the schedule that we had initially.
It was April.
Yes. I think it was April 3rd for a turnover.
And that structural deficiency was at both sites?
Yes, it was at both schools. So we encountered, when demolition started at both schools, we encountered a discrepancy between what initially we thought was there, and then when we uncovered, there was a lot of structure that wasn't there. All right.
Well, this 850 feet, I really don't think it's big enough. Just to use, to have for, room to get around and everything. I mean, when we get the new guy, the person in here to talk to us about the boiler is, we said we'd like to put 3 in or 2 in.
Yeah, we're recommending 3
It's
boilers.
designed for 3.
Okay.
Do you think that it would be helpful if, aside from also having our mechanical engineer, we have Jeremy Moore here?
Well, we can ask Mr. Moore to be here, but
And see if
he worked with the mechanical engineer
Right.
and these
So
specifications.
he thinks it's big enough? I
He
mean,
Well,
does,
it's-
and mechanical and all of the calculations, I think, indicated that size.
Because they were under communication, and that's how it all came about. But, I think Paul brought the drawings, but I can bring them to the workshop, and then we can look at it and have a conversation with the mechanical engineer. That would be more helpful.
You know how big a boiler is?
I'm sorry?
How big it actually is, one boiler? Square,
Size-wise,
round,
like
or-
specs, I'm not sure. I would have to find out spec-wise if the mechanical engineer would be able to
I'm
tell
just
us like an
curious if you-
approximate, yeah. All right, any questions or any marching orders? All right. See you guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ginger.
Safe
Oh,
travels.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm sorry. I was wondering if we could have a meeting, or maybe even the 18th, and circle and get the first drawings that we had from the Lewis group on the security upgrades, and have a meeting either just by that and let's talk it out, to, to try to water some of those more down in a simpler form, and that way we can move forward with those.
You wanna look at the other schools?
The original design, the package that we bid, and
Yeah.
it was high bids, and we just went with the high schools.
Yeah.
We still have that information, correct?
We
That-
still
'cause
have
There
that,
were
but
big
if y'all
drawings.
can, yeah.
Do we have-
We'd like to see the initial drawing for the first round.
If you have that before all of the feedback that resulted in the more elaborate designs.
Yeah, there's actually been 3 iterations really, because there was the initial schematic one, and then what we proposed, and then reduced when we got the first bid. So we'll bring those along, and maybe we can put them side to side and discuss them together, and we'll go ahead and schedule something so that we can also talk to the mechanical about the boiler, so that's 2 separate things.
Thank you, Mr. Blake.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the HVAC designs and engineering services at Daniel Boone, no funding source has been identified yet, but we are looking at those release of the bids.
Yes, and this is, I think, it's a discussion item, so I wanted to share with what I've discussed with Mr. Hale, and Dr. Adams says they'll be my designee Thursday. As the current resources we have include on the approved educational capital fund, there is a fund balance in that educational capital fund because we have not expended those funds. And part of those unexpended funds have been identified for the elementary entryways. All of those entries are secure, but our mission was, number one, to prioritize in the high schools where it's the most vulnerable, and we're addressing those. The other schools, as listed, they all need enhancements. I've used the word enhancements very intentionally because they do need to be improved, and that's the goal. But with the fiscal year and identifying a funding source, we can take what we have not expended and pull in what has not been expended for those projects, and go ahead and move forward with the bid on this. What I would anticipate and what I would expect and be fully supportive of is the commission, if they were willing to support that, there would be assurances that, we are going to move forward with these security upgrades, and we can. When we do our capital improvement 5-year plan redesign every year, and we get it approved by them or considered for approval in June, we will just shift and reprioritize and then bring those projects back in the next fiscal year. We have latitude to do that. So utilizing the funds that we have currently accessible to us, provided the commission will allow us to make the modifications, we can move forward and identify that as the funding source.
How much is that?
$2 million. We're going to, what we've said is we estimate $2 million because of the utilities, because we're going to have to bring natural gas to that site.
I'll make a motion, we release the bids for the engineering services and design services for the Daniel Boone High School HVAC system using the capital improvement projects funding.
If I may also, I just want to point out, timing-wise, we can get this rolling because this week's a Q, next week's the budget, and then the commission meets the 24th. Assuming everything goes in the direction that we need it to, we will have the 18th. We would not want to release the bids until we finish have some of these questions answered. With those questions answered, then the bid specs can be finalized, and then we can release the bids after. Ask that you consider approval tonight, but we will not release the bids until after we've finalized and answered some of these questions.
And that'll dot all the i's and cross all the t's that the commission wants us to do.
Provided that they are agreeable to the revisions. Yes, sir.
Any discussion?
I seen in the joint meeting with them, the members that were there, and as you explained the dilemma, the need, they were supportive and positive about that, so hopefully we'll come through with approval on that.
Well, we certainly want to build off of that foundation and what momentum came out of that joint meeting. to strengthen, you know, the partnership. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Can we vote, please, Jennifer?
It's open.
Right.
Motion carries, all approved.
Mr. Boyd, would you like to address the firearm
Yeah,
update needs?
it's not requested, and we discussed this at the workshop, but it's not requested at this time to be an action item. It's certainly something needs to be on the radar. Talked with Dr. Adams as we also build our revisions for next year's 5-year educational capital fund plan. We're gonna build this need into the schedule as far as schedule it out for multiple years on the need to upgrade all of these fire systems. You know, some of them, they're all operational. It's just, you know, maintenance is spending a lot of time on some of the older ones, and some of the parts are getting more difficult to find, so it's time to upgrade panels and then the sensors across these buildings. And we would start, of course, with the highest priority, the ones that in most need, and schedule it out over the next few years. But we need to incorporate that into our 5-year educational capital planning process. So it's for an awareness. When we get that full plan, you all will have a chance to review and make adjustments if you have any questions. But it'll be a part of approving the 5-year capital plan, the next version of that.
Are we at any point to where one of them is worse off than the others, and we're at a safety concern?
No, it's right now, there's just a lot of maintenance, time and attention on some of the panels. So as far as safety concern of the buildings, no. But, you know, it is point of failure, or it's getting to end of life, and we're trying to be proactive in the sense of we don't want to wait till it fails completely and be in that position. So, but yes, there are some systems at some schools that require attention more than others right now, and we will start with those as being the priorities.
Any other discussion? All right, moving on into recommendations for the tenure status. Since we've split that up, we're going to start with all the ones excluding Lamar. So, Mr. Fleener.
Make a motion, we approve the recommendations for tenure as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
Question, I ask this every year, were there any people that met the qualifications but were not recommended by the principals?
No.
Any other discussion? Can we vote, Jennifer?
Voting's open. All approved.
And the recommendations for the tenure for Lamar Elementary School.
Move.
I'll make them, huh?
Keith made the motion.
Keith made the motion.
Oh,
Chad made the second. Whitney made the second, so sorry. Any discussion?
I wanted to bring this up just to be transparent. This person was recommended by Mr. Merriman to be tenured at Lamar and approved by you, correct?
Yes, sir.
Any more discussion? Can we vote, Jennifer?
And this is for approval of that
Lamar.
personnel. Voting's open. all approved.
The job description for the executive principal, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, ma'am. You know, as I discussed at the workshop, number one, any new position that's not currently an approved position in our district requires board approval. So, step in the process was presenting this to the board. The job description was targeted towards what obviously has been termed the executive principal, where the majority of the work this individual does at a senior admin level is in schools and both supporting, evaluating, and growing existing school leaders, principals, assistant principals as well, working with their leadership team and aspiring leaders. Right now, this is being done, but it's spread thin with all of the other responsibilities that the other leaders are doing. And my opinion, both just years of experience and just all of the research and study I do about leadership, you know, you have to intentionally and constantly develop your leaders for your organization to grow. And most of our work and where our most important work is in our schools. We have a lot of supporting casts, a lot of great, strong, talent teams that support what happens in schools. But the work that produces the results that we need to see our students thrive is at schools. And the principals are a big part of that. And our existing principals are doing a great job, but there's always room for improvement. And they deserve that kind of attention and support. And then our future principals, which is a pipeline that is very thin, not just in our district, but across the state. Not many people are really aspiring to be a school leader because of everything that comes with it. So I think as we try to support all of our employees, putting someone there as a support with accountability, there would also be the direct supervisor of all the principals. It would be me, then them, and then the principals. So there's accountability there as a person that's their support person, but also their evaluator, and would spend their time working with principals. So just to wrap it up, there's a long list of duties. I tried to capture what I thought would be the essence of the position and the daily responsibilities. And then also the qualifications need to be someone that has had significant experience and demonstrated success. So certainly someone that's a certified educator in the state of Tennessee, someone that is a certified administrator, and someone that has had years of experience. And I listed 10 years minimum for that experience in leadership in a public school system, with a significant amount of that being at least at the school level as a principal. So, you know, that's my request for the position. Budget-wise, certainly would be something, if it was approved, that we would work towards including in next year's budget. It also, I would like the opportunity, if approved, in preparation for next year's staffing, to go ahead and post a position with the intent of hiring them at the latest to start July 1, if possible, possibly even, you know, before that, but not immediately.
Mr. Masters?
I'd like to make the motion to move forward on this with the exception of a 2-year trial basis, and give him a year to him or her to see if it works, number one, the first year, then see what kind of it generates the second year.
Second.
Second discussion.
Well, I've sat here and I've been thinking about this. My feelings is the director is the person the principals needs to talk to. I don't feel like that we need another person to go through. I mean, if there's a problem, if that's his job, that's how I feel. I cannot support somebody else doing something that I feel like he needs to be doing. Cause that's somebody else that's going through. It's, he says this, or she says this, well, it goes to him, and maybe it's not what it was said.
Well, they would still be leading the principal meetings with you that you still have. This person will just be there as well during that time, correct?
Yeah, I'm not gonna relinquish that responsibility.
Okay.
I think it's a need to give them the regular daily support and attention they need. I talk to principals every day, and that won't stop.
Well, I mean, but if this person's there, you might not. That's the whole issue I got
Well,
with it.
someone else might not, but I will.
I mean,
I will not stop talking to principals. But I understand your point, and I understand that there's probably many others that have the same point. I'm just relying on the fact that I've done this for 12 years.
well.
And I'm not saying I know everything. I know the limitations, and I have a really good view of where we are and where we can be and where some of the gaps are. And we want to be as best in Washington County that we can be, and we have a long way to go to get where we have the potential to be. And I just want to make sure we do that.
I've sat here for 18, 19 years, and I've listened to directors talk about what they're gonna do and what they're doing, and I know we had some assistant directors retire, absorbed that into the budget, it's not been replaced. And I know that when I was first starting out, you had assistant directors talking to the principals, and then come to find out it's different. When the main director gets a hold of them, it's a totally different atmosphere. And that's why I say, I just feel like it needs to be you, and that's it. Nobody else. I mean, you got everybody else in their position, but when it comes to the principals, you know, that's when we hired you, Jerry. It was, you was gonna take care, manage all the principals. And
Okay.
I just can't support it.
Mr. Burns?
Yeah, I'd like to speak in support of the position, and, you know, I come at it as I think about the leadership development, how important that is. I really like what's been presented to us and how it would be set up. You know, you get 13 principals and a number of assistant principals, I guess about that number as well. You bring in talented people and have qualifications, but leadership is learned, and leaders need experienced and seasoned people that they can call on, you know, to really learn how to deal with people and deal with situations. I think that's very important. A lot of it starts with leadership in the schools. And, you know, as far as the director goes, it's the time for the director to provide this timely and really focused leadership to the principals. It is tough to come by, and you got a $100 million budget, 1,000 employees. There's a lot to deal with. So I really think this would be a good thing that would help our system.
Mr. Fleener?
Yeah, I'm excited too. I like the part of growing our leadership in our schools, but I also like that 90%, you know, and I don't, not to put a number on it, but you know what we talked about in the workshop was 90% of their time will be at the school level. And that's pretty exciting because I know your time can't all be spent there. You know, to Keith's point, I see what Keith's saying, but at the same time, every different director has a different way of putting their stamp on things, and I like the way you've met with the principals firsthand and kept them, in, you know, to speak directly instead of always going through somebody. But I do like this way of growing our leaders for future positions, because we got some pretty young staffs at some of these schools, and looking forward to seeing what this person can or can do. And I like with the time limit on it being said that we will visit this back later on in the future and see if we're getting, you know, if it's doing good things, because really all we have is one employee, and that's you. You know, I know you'll put somebody in this that you trust and that does a good job, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this rolls. I'm, you know, skeptical maybe, but also too really excited to see us grow our leadership, being intentional on that, and I appreciate that.
Mr. Riddle?
I'd like to speak to it as well. I agree with these gentlemen. So I imagine what we have, about 1,600 employees,
Just under 1,300.
1,300. So I see Mr. Boyd as basically the CEO of this organization. And 1,300 employees is a lot on the day-to-day. So there's a lot of fires to put out on the daily across the whole spectrum. So I think this would be putting someone in a position that would really help benefit our kids directly. And that's what it's all about, the education of the children and strengthening them through strength of leadership. And I think by doing this, we'd be strengthening the leadership and overall improving our system. And I mean, that would take Mr. Boyd to be still involved in this, but we could have a broader scope of development of our leadership by doing this. And I think we could help get more people involved and bring up people in our system to train them to be leaders. So I think it's very important for our system to do this.
Sorry, Mr. Riddle. Mr. Riddle.
Question first and then a comment, and maybe this is before I got onto the board and you were in position as superintendent. What top level, I'll call it top level people, positions have been eliminated or not filled since you've become superintendent?
Just one. It was another assistant director. Well, I've also folded some in, but for, you know, if you were to look back at the budgets, it would be essentially one. And that person was very valuable. They retired, and it just was a decision made not to replace that position.
So when people are talking about, you know, top heavy and adding extra people here, it doesn't sound like we're.
Well, what we've added at the district level, you know, has been different levels that work in schools. You know, the coaches, we've added a couple of coaches. We added the I guess you would say, the school counselor lead. Those are the kinds of district positions we've added. Other than the existing team and making some structural changes when I came in, as far as district senior level leaders, we've kept that, minus the one that was there prior to me coming that was not filled.
Yeah, I'm speaking more to top level
Yeah,
management.
the
not
senior
those
management,
positions.
yes. But we have added other district positions, but all of those are direct supports at the school level. As like I said, instructional coaches, those curriculum specialists to work directly with teachers and principals on the curriculum and instruction piece.
Okay. My greatest problem with the whole thing, and I'm not exactly for it or against it yet, but I wish it would have been introduced right at the beginning of our workshop rather than at the end.
I understand.
It's a kind of a surprise, and if I was going to be present, and I'll be missing my first meeting, the next workshop, I'd be moving to defer this to the workshop for discussion and then a vote in April. But since I'm not going to be there, that doesn't seem to be appropriate to do. But I would welcome any other person that moved to want to do that I would support them in doing so. But going along with it, the reason that I like it is the fact that we've given this man an extended contract. We have been happy with what he has done for our school system. And if we're doing that, then we need to trust him in what we're doing and what he's doing and what he's asking for. So I like that, but I would have liked to seen more discussion at a workshop before we were asked to vote on it tonight.
Mr. Masters?
I just want to add that, you know, we got a lot of young principals that Jerry's had to appoint because of lack of. And I guess what I'm most excited about, if we can get this particular person, is the hands-on that they'll be doing with our younger principals. And to me, that's going to mean more towards everything we've talked about in the past, our problems, our achievements, but I just want to add that I like the hands-on where Jerry Jerry can't do it. He can't do it all.
Mr. Hammond?
I understand everybody's point. I've struggled with this for a few days. The three things, I would like the full board to be here, but I understand not everybody can be here all the time on this particular vote. Number two, when I first started on the board in September 2010, there were 7 assistant directors, 2 part-time, minimum $80,000 a year. And I have seen a restructure. And I do think, over the last few years, so I don't think it's as top-heavy now as it has been in the past. And he has streamlined a lot of the positions. The third thing is, maybe we should put this in the budget for next year. Just maybe see how it goes, see what the county commission's gonna offer. I do like Mike's amendment, just making it 1 year. But that's all I got to say.
Mr. Irvin?
I'm not saying the director's not doing a good job. I think he's doing a fantastic job. I'm just sitting here just like what he said, 6, 7 assistant directors, and I feel like, I think that our principals needs to be in contact with our director and nobody else. No second hand, nothing. If there's a fire, the principal needs to call him, and that's it. Nobody else to go through. That's why I don't like it.
Well, I will say, and maybe I haven't been clear about this, but when they have a discipline question, they call Dr. Wolf. When they have a facility or safety question, they call Dr. Adams. When they have a curriculum instruction question, they call Cindy Hayes or Josh Davis. If they have a technology question, they call Curtis Fulbright.
But most of the time, Jerry, when they got a big problem, they call you.
Even if they call Dr. Adams, say a safety issue, they know that they need to also make sure I'm fully aware. Dr. Adams will make sure I'm aware, but they all do. And I think what I've seen and what I appreciate about our principals is we've developed a working relationship in which they do reach out to me, not out of fear. There's some element of that. I mean, I'm still their boss, but they do it because they know that's what they should do, and they do it consistently, and that won't stop.
So for me, I want to be clear here because that's not what I thought this position was going to be. I thought they were still going to come to you with their issues. But for me, this is a support person, somebody who's going to grow and train and give these people in leadership more confidence, more able to deal with things that are in their buildings, teach them how to be looking for better people to hire, looking for things of that nature. I don't look at it as they're replacing you. I look at it as this is support. We do have, very young leaders that are sitting in our seats as principals. And that is, not on them. That is through people that are my age that are still in the buildings. They don't want to be in that seat. They are very comfortable in the classroom. That's where they want to be. And we need to support these. Yes, I do feel like it should be in our budget going forward. I feel like that's where this should be taking place, is in our budget talks. But I also understand you want to get started on looking for that person and having that person in place on, the new budget season. I see both sides. I've sat through 4 superintendents or director of schools, as you would like to say. I've never once known a director of schools to email as many parent concerns as he does. He is a workaholic, and I don't feel like he is neglecting any part or trying to push his job off on anybody else. I really think that this position is a position of, we need the support here, and he is directing us in saying, I need the support for these people. And he doesn't ask us for anything that our system has not needed. So, Mr. Masters.
I just had one question for Brad Hale. Is this something we can afford for 2 years?
Yeah, we have cash reserves now that would.
So it ain't gonna hurt?
If you as the board approve it, we put it in, we have cash reserves.
So it ain't nothing that you'll have to find something, we have it, if need be?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Fleener.
I just want to say thank you. You said that a whole lot better than I did. And I think he's asked for a position, and he doesn't come to us very much and ask for a whole lot. Again, we're not gonna be over this person. I would say, and I'm sure, and I don't even have to ask this, but I guess we need to be upfront and transparent. You may not fill this position if the right person doesn't, that you don't think fits.
Correct.
So, I mean, again, I've
It's
seen.
not, it's not a position that I will fill just to fill.
Fill.
Meaning, if there's a pool of applicants and they don't meet I don't believe they can meet the expectation, I've learned a long time ago, it's better not to hire anyone.
Well,
than
and
to hire the
I
wrong
had
person.
no doubt in that, and I don't, you know, I've sit here, Keith, and not as long as you, but I've sit here and, you know, a lot of times we didn't get asked on certain positions, but we only have one, you know.
Oh, I know, but it's.
So I'm appreciative that he sees the leadership as something that we need to be intentionally focused on, and we spent the money for the high schools, you know, here just not too far when we come back from Christmas break, to push leadership. And this is gonna be somebody that's in-house to help with that. I'm excited for it.
Well, you know, as far as the principal oversight, in the statute, in the law, and under my responsibilities, you know, principals actually, their contract is directly with me. I could even offer a contract to a principal that would extend the duration of my contract. That's written in the law. But we operate it just like we do everything else. Everything's annual review and evaluation and decisions to continue or not at the end of the year. So I would not relinquish that responsibility of my direct oversight over school principals. As I've shared, and I believe, you know, the short 5 years I spent as a high school principal shaped me in the sense of it. I know the job is one of the hardest jobs in our school system as a principal, and it's also all the people that rely on them in their particular school. It's one of the most important positions outside of the classroom teacher. But the classroom teacher can't do their job if they don't have solid leadership that's supporting them directly in the schools. So again, the development of principals and assistant principals is not something I will not be engaged in. Actually, honestly, that job description would be my ideal dream job. But I take on the role of a few more responsibilities than what's listed there, and I'm willing to seek someone I can trust to do the part that I love to do, so that it can be done better.
Well, that's what we do when he retires, we just hire him back as the executive principal.
Kendall?
Well, I'm not saying, just for the record, I say that just because I wanted to impress upon the fact that, you know, it's very important. But no, I'm not soliciting a job after I retire in 2 years, so, you know.
Ms. Hodges?
I just wanted to say that I think this is really good. Yeah, while you have a lot going on, I think having one person specific for the job of just looking over the principals and guiding them and leading them, and having them, that's their one singular job, is going to make that job a lot more focused and a lot more easier to attain to, and I think it will just make it a lot easier with one person. And while they can still come to you, they're just also going to have that extra person as well if you're not available at the moment.
That's it. Call for question.
Can we vote, Jennifer, please?
Everybody says so.
Voting's open. It carries, oh, Mr. Barnes, sorry. Carries with 1 no.
Thank you.
All right. Overnight field trip request. We had some that came in afterwards. We had one that came in at 5:24. So if you want to take a moment and look over those, and Mr. Fleener.
Make a motion, we approve all 5 trips as presented.
Second.
Pending they have fun. So,
And they're safe.
and they're safe.
All right. Any discussion? Can we vote, Jennifer?
Voting's open. I'll carry.
All right. Is there any more?
I got one thing.
Yes, sir.
Two things really. I just want to congratulate Miss Lily. I know she's, her daddy's very proud of her, and so are we. We look forward to you, all four of you, don't get me wrong, all four of you, but I know Lily a little more than I do the other three. So just want to congratulate you and congratulate Miss Jennifer for being a grandmother.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations to you.
I have pictures, anybody want? Surely not.
And if I may, just, you know, and we discussed, and I shared with you earlier about the survey that I would like to send out, the 2-question, really a 1-question survey with an opportunity to comment. So we be prepared to have that feedback by the April board agenda in reference to the resolution about the required resolution for the teacher bonus that was passed in the law, the Education Freedom Act law. And the survey will go to our teachers, the ones that we're going to try to capture, the ones that meet the definition that will receive the teacher bonus based on the definition in the law. And it's really 2 questions. Do you support the resolution or do you not support the resolution? So that feedback can come back to all of you, and you all can have that information as you consider the resolution at the April 3rd board meeting.
The resolution of accepting the money.
Yes, sir. Based
Right.
on the law, it requires local boards of education to pass a resolution requesting or accepting the money for the teacher bonus, you know, with the stipulations that it's the teachers that are eligible from working the 24-25 school year, and just to confirm, yes, and the payout would not happen from the state. It comes from the state until the next fiscal year, until sometime possibly in July.
As you send out that survey, I hope that you would definitely say this in no way is a vote for or against the voucher plan.
Right, I can add that, you know, in the description prior to asking the question, I provided a link to the resolution, the draft resolution. I also provided some language from the bill, from the law that was passed, and I can add that at the top or at the bottom or at both, just to emphasize that we're not asking them to declare a support for anything, just other than what's in the resolution and the teacher bonus.
And
This is TSBA's resolution, is that what?
The draft language came from Tennessee School Board Association, yes, sir.
And that can be changed by us if anybody has a suggestion of what else you would like to put in there, and we can discuss that at workshop.
But the survey just has the draft from TSBA's sample language, and it's essentially outlining that it's a requirement for boards to pass a resolution based in the law for our teachers to receive the teacher bonus that was written into the law. But boards were required to pass this resolution to be eligible to receive those monies for their teachers.
Anything else?
When,
Go ahead.
when are we planning on budget-wise? When is, when we get the,
I mean, our budget timeline, I had, we would get draft 1 by the April 4th, or a very rough draft 1 of by the April 3rd board meeting.
that's the budget, that's from you, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
that's
We, you
instead
know,
of-
the timeline is the month of April, we could have, as we have had some special call meetings just to talk about the budget. But it starts with the initial draft
Okay.
that we're working through. We've received all the feedback from our schools, who had received feedback from their stakeholders, and now departments will be reviewing. Mr. Hale and I will be digging in and reviewing. That's what we'll present to you, those kinds of numbers at the April 3rd board meeting, and then any other
Okay.
modifications and discussions could happen at special call meetings throughout the month of April. Our deadline to the county is by their rules, we are to present them with an approved budget by May 1st.
When do you
And a
want
board
our,
approved budget.
I'm sorry, when do you want our feedback or our input?
I'll wait, I mean, as I can, I mean, you have shared some thoughts and we're getting that information for you, but any of you have information on numbers as far as you have thoughts, what would this expense look like, or what would this savings look like, you know, please email me anytime. it's helpful. But, you know, the process we follow is we certainly try to get from the ground up, the school level up to us, feedback on the needs of the schools, and then we try to look at across the district and our departments, is there any redundancy and overlap? Are there needs that stand out that the schools have brought to our attention, and we try to incorporate that into the final or the initial draft of the budget.
Any others? We're adjourned.
Hey, Jerry.
Yes, sir.
This is an additional 50 tons of capacity for the cooling tower. And just to be intentional, if we were to